Welcome back to the Movie Draft House. I'm your host, Mark, joined by co-host Jeff.
What up, Mark? How we doing today?
You know, it's a great day in the Draft House.
Is it? You said it so... I don't know where I'm going with this.
So
we're recording first thing in the morning, which is like new
I got
for
sleepy
us.
in my eyes. It's weird, but we touched on it last week. It's not a great day in the country. However, we're going to continue on.
Did we?
With Heist Month.
Did
we talked a little bit about, hey, we don't know if it's a
we don't know how things have gone.
We didn't know how things were going to go. Things did not turn out the way that we had hoped. However, we continue to have hope here on the podcast, and the hope is that we watched a great movie this week.
Let's see. Let's find out.
Let's find out. Jeff, what did we watch?
We watched No Sudden Move from 2021. It's a Steven Soderbergh picture, and it stars Don Cheadle, Benecio del Toro, Jon Hamm, David Harbour, Brendan Fraser, Julia Fox, Kieran Culkin. So pretty stacked cast list. Now
Ray Liotta, R.I.P.
Oh God, I forgot about Ray Liotta. Yeah, he kind of surprised me. I forgot he was in this movie. Matt Damon
popped up out of nowhere.
Yeah, I was like, oh, okay, he's here. So, full cast here. This is what you would call an ensemble.
Yeah. And Jeff, you picked this one. So, any particular reason why?
I put into Google heist movie, and this came up, and I saw the cast list, and I thought, hey, that's probably good.
Yeah.
Yep. Now, let me ask you.
And you had never seen it?
Nope, never seen it.
All right.
So that can kind of go into my next question. Do you think this met the theme? Was this a heist?
So, the blanket answer is yes. However, it's like the first act is the heist, right?
Barely a heist.
Right, barely a heist. But it does classify as a heist because somebody goes into something and tries to steal something.
Right. So it is the bare minimum of heist. But like the movie doesn't revolve around the heist.
Correct. Much like last week with Rogue One, where the entire movie was about stealing the Death Star plans.
We got to go get the Death Star plans, and this, the ultimate heist film being Ocean's 11.
Yeah,
another
Soderbergh film.
A great film. I don't know. I'm going to take your word for it.
Pretty sure he directed that one.
I can check here. He directed Traffic.
The man's got 51 directing credits.
One of them's got to be Ocean's 11, right?
He directed Ocean's 8. He directed...
Yes, it was Steven Soderbergh.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
What the hell was I talking about? Yeah, so... Yeah, that was a little disappointing for me, is that it wasn't really a full-on heist. It was barely a heist. It was more of a kidnapping movie.
Yeah.
And that was right at the beginning. And then after the kidnapping, it kind of goes down this more mob manipulation, like working. It does kind of turn into, you don't realize it, but sort of a, what's the term? Like high level manipulation. Like one person is running this scheme and we don't know who's actually winning until the very end.
Yeah. So, I enjoyed the acting's top notch throughout this entire film.
Yeah.
And I really love. I'm a huge Don Cheadle fan, and I just really think he's so
really good in this.
He's really good, but he's really good in everything. He's so underrated as an actor. I think it's because everything he does, he is super great in. It's no different here, but like he is the main guy in this.
Right.
And there is no protagonist per se in this film. Is because they're all kind of bad guys. And
I would say Don Cheadle's the protag, though. Like, he is...
he's probably the one you're rooting for.
Right, because there's there's a moment where he's asked to kill someone and kill people who are innocent, and he chooses pretty much right away, he doesn't even debate on it, to do the right thing. So I think, sure, he's a thief.
Yeah.
But that's about as bad as he is.
Yeah, I mean, he does kill Kieran Culkin. Spoiler.
In sort of a almost self-defense, but he's actually defending someone else. So, and to me, it's not really a murder.
Yeah.
Like, he didn't just take his life for fun. It was very much to protect these innocent children.
Yeah.
And so, again, I think that is a honorable action, despite the fact that he is the thief that's broken into their house and traumatized them for life. Yes, but he is the least evil of the entire group.
Yeah. And it's so like this movie goes through and it's like a series of hey, backstab or heel turn,
there's plot twists and
that's one thing that kind of bothered me throughout the film is that like it kept happening.
Well, and I didn't follow really anything at all, to be honest. Like, who was actually hiring Don Cheadle and Del Toro and Kieran Culkin to do this?
We found out at the end of the movie it's Matt Damon, right?
Was it Matt Damon?
Yeah, because at the end of the movie, Jon Hamm's character, the cop, goes and gives Matt Damon the money and says, "Hey, this all belonged to you." And he goes, there's kind of more than we thought there, and so he gives him the money. But so Matt Damon's the head guy.
Okay,
he's the guy that hired Brendan Fraser to hire Cheadle and Benicio del Toro to go do this thing, to get the catalytic converter plans, right? And that's what the heist is over.
What a weird thing, because here in the year 2024, I'm watching this. I'm like, they're getting a heist over a catalytic converter.
Well, so
I thought
underlying
that at some point that it was going to be revealed it was nuclear plans or something, but no, it was a catalytic converter.
No, so the film takes place in the 50s, and post World War II, and it takes place in Los Angeles, and apparently in Los Angeles or California, whatever, vehicles were highly pollutant, and these plans for the catalytic converter, which is catalytic converter these days, every car is mandated, it has to have a catalytic converter, and the catalytic converter, what it does is it's decreases the amount of exhaust in that a car puts out. And so here in 1950, where most everybody has a car, none of the cars were outfitted with a catalytic converter, and so they're putting out which is it's a weird plot where
so it's a real thing. Now I don't know, but that all of this like mob sort of stuff happened to keep things under wraps. I don't know, but it was a real thing where, hey, your cars are polluting things, and Ford and the big three, as they're called in this, might have been trying to cover it up. I believe that, but I don't know that the events of this film are necessarily based on anything true.
No, but like I do think I'm putting air quotes around a heist movie revolving around plans for a catalytic converter is interesting, because I would never have thought that, hey, the person or company that puts out the catalytic converter first would be the richest, or would stand to gain the most money, because.
But I'm not even sure it's clear that that's what they're going for, was like plans to get this catalytic converter to be the first to market, but rather they were trying to bury the fact that they could make their cars more eco-friendly, but at the expense of them. I that's what I felt more like what was going on. Like,
well, and there's also the I guess the subplot of Don Cheadle's. I mean, several times throughout the movie, he mentions, black people are being forced out of areas of the city.
Yeah, they do talk about gentrification fairly early on. Yeah.
And I thought it was like that's kind of a weird subplot. I mean, even though it likely was happening, but like I just felt like I was like that's kind of a weird thing to kind of have in your film that really had nothing to do with anything other than Don Cheadle, and this is why he's trying to get the money is so he can relocate. I don't know if it was his family or I don't know. And the plot does become convoluted.
I don't know.
Well, right, but like the overarching plot of these two guys are trying to get this money, and then they decide, hey, we can stand to make more money if we get over on the other guys, and so it kind of just starts like snowballing in this way. And Don Cheadle and Benicio del Toro, they believe by the end of the movie that they've got over on Matt Damon's character. And
well, Don Cheadle doesn't.
Well,
right? We find out Don Cheadle's essentially the mastermind behind this plot to essentially what I think is he gets set up in a corner. He gets set up to take the fall for or be murdered by Kieran Culkin and whoever's running things, which you say is Matt Damon, and I'm going to go with that because I don't have any other argument, is that he gets sort of put in a corner, and then there's a line in the movie he's like, he's going to start, they think they're the only one who can make moves, and that's the precursor. We don't really see him make a lot of moves other than trying to go up the ladder to get more money, but by the end of the film, we find out that he's actually sort of manipulated this in a perfect way. He knew every move that was good. Not everything. Like, I don't think he intended for Benicio del Toro to get killed, but he knew every move to kind of get himself free. And I think maybe he even thought he got Benicio del Toro free. But
well, the fact is that everybody's after this money, and like even Benicio del Toro's girlfriend, who he thinks he's going to run away with, and like they actually start heading out of town, and she pulls on the side of the road and pops him in the head, and it's like, and then the cop comes and takes the money from her, and she's just left like, what the fuck? And so like at every turn, somebody's trying to get over on somebody. And I found that a little bit like boring, I guess, because it kept happening. And like nobody won.
There's too many twists. There's too many moments in the movie that just change what you think's going on. Like, I go back to Ocean's 11, and they have a couple of those moments, right, where you find out that the one character's heart attack is planned, and it's part of the scheme. And for some reason, it doesn't bother me. But in this, like, I found it started to get unbelievable,
right?
Where I was like, okay, no one could plan it this far out. Like the way he was 20 steps ahead of everyone else.
Well, I read a review, because this movie was critically loved. It had it's like a 94% of Rotten Tomatoes.
There's good stuff here, but the plot kind of, is a little too convoluted for me.
Yeah. Well, I read a review. I forget who it was by, but they essentially said that Ocean's 11 is a crowd pleaser. Everything happens. The entire movie is set up in a way to where the Ocean's 11 group, everything works out for them, essentially.
Right.
And in this movie, everything doesn't work out for these characters, and that's why Ocean's 11 in this movie are so different in the ways that like Soderbergh directed both movies, and they're very similar in aspect because they're both like ensemble pieces. They're both heist, quote unquote heist films, but this one is not set up to let the protagonist win. And I don't mind that. I don't mind that, hey, these guys don't get away with it. But like at the end of the day, like Don Cheadle is, I mean, he's allowed to live,
right?
Right.
Yeah, well,
I
he's
mean,
allowed to live, and he says, all I really wanted was $5,000. And that's the other thing. I don't understand, like, the mob boss, who, I don't know the actor's name, but he played the Green Beret in Commando, which is the movie I always come back to. What was his game? Like, because it seemed like he didn't get anything out of helping Don Cheadle.
We're talking about
the money.
Yeah, Bill Duke is his name.
Okay, he didn't.
He also was in Predator.
Like, he gave the money. Yes, that's right. He gave the money back to Jon Hamm.
Yeah,
and all he did, it was like out of the kindness of his heart to help Don Cheadle. And he asked him, "Why do you trust, or why do you think you could trust me?" And he's like, "You could be trusted," and he is trustworthy apparently. But we don't get any indication as to the relationship there. I mean, there is a relationship apparently because, he helps him, pro bono, and gets $5,000 for it. And it looked like the $5,000 just came out of the mob boss's pocket.
Yeah,
I didn't get it. I
would venture to say that this guy, and the character's name is Aldrich Watkins, but the guy that Bill Duke plays, he knows that if he was to take that money, it would probably not end well for him. Because Matt Damon is this big not mob boss,
right,
but he's this big guy in town. And like to cross him would probably mean death.
He's like Henry Ford, basically.
Yeah, essentially.
He does have a line that I like in this movie. He goes, "I don't want that money. That money is expensive."
Right. Right.
Where I get why you didn't want the money, but I don't understand why he helped Don Cheadle out of the bind he was in. Like, why wouldn't he throw his hands up? But instead, he gets involved with the police, puts himself in that position. Makes a deal that he doesn't know is going to be. He essentially makes a deal for Don Cheadle's freedom.
Yeah,
and I just, it would have been a better, because it seemed like Don Cheadle didn't have a great reputation, the character, going into it, because something went down at Gotham Hotel, and then Kieran Culkin describes it briefly, but I don't really remember what it was, but. I don't know. I kind of would have. That would have been a little helpful to know why that guy is on his good side, because it felt a bit ex machina, Deus ex machina, whatever it's called, where like you have a surprise at the end that's unexplained. Yeah. He, there weren't enough breadcrumbs. Like sometimes when you have these twists and turns, what makes them worthwhile is the breadcrumbs along the way, and you never get that.
It is there are questions, like, I had a lot of those same questions of why is the mob boss helping Cheadle, and what I come back to is just that, like, maybe this mob boss knows that Don Cheadle is just trying to. He's in it for him, and he's not trying to actually get over on anybody. He just wants his $5,000, and that's what he's looking for. And maybe that's why. Maybe this guy Bill Duke is just he recognizes that, hey man, he's just trying to make some money, and he's actually not trying to bring down anybody. And
yeah,
I don't know,
it seems like he's really just trying to get out. Like
right.
He's kind of done with any sort of mafioso stuff.
Whereas Benicio del Toro's character was absolutely trying to get over on a lot of people. And you can even say that Benicio del Toro's character was probably the worst of everybody, is because he's fucking Ray Liotta's wife, and he's
that's a mistake. But I think
it's a mistake.
I think Kieran Culkin was probably one of the worst. Because he was gonna be one of the guys, and then Brendan Fraser's the one sort of calling the shots. He's the guy we see calling the shots. We haven't even talked about him in this movie. He's awesome.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So it goes. I think it goes. Matt Damon, Ray Liotta, Brendan Fraser, and then Cheadle and Benicio del Toro. I think that's the hierarchy of
Kieran Culkin is in there.
Well, I mean, he's probably in between Brendan Fraser and Cheadle, but
right.
I just and you're right. Brendan Fraser is very good in this, and I think this is kind of like one of his first roles back in acting.
So did this predate The Whale?
I think so.
Okay.
I just think that he's
just before The Whale.
Yeah. And so why did he quit acting for a while? Do you know?
I think because he was like a decent human, and I don't know that he. Well, it looks like from 2008, he had a couple things in 2009, 2010, 2013. So it looked like he was doing voice acting and stuff on TV shows. So
yeah.
It doesn't look like he ever quit, but he definitely wasn't in the Hollywood eye. And I think the main reason was he had a lot of flops. There was Monkey Bone. He had some other stuff that was kind of put him on the shit list,
Yeah.
So
I don't know, it's just he kind of faded from Hollywood, and then he all of a sudden The Whale.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, and that's The Whale's an Aronofsky movie.
Oh, God.
But it's really good. I won't purposely make us watch that, but
thank you.
Just because I know how you feel about Aronofsky, but it is a very good movie. Just for whatever reason, Aronofsky decides to cast Brendan Fraser in his film, and he wins an Oscar for it. It's okay, that's weird, but okay.
Yeah,
I don't know. It's I just seeing Brendan Fraser in No Sudden Move, and then knowing that his next film he wins an Oscar for. It's it's weird how Hollywood works, is that people can just kind of pop back up and they're very well received. And I think Brendan Fraser's always been a pretty good actor. He certainly has been marketable, obviously in the 90s and early 2000s, but it's just weird how that happens in an ensemble film like this, where he doesn't play a big role. I mean, his role is important, but
yeah,
he's not in the movie, but maybe
really
15
good,
minutes.
I like the scene where he sits down at the table with the gun, and he throws the napkin over his hand and sort of tries to take control of that situation. And I just thought he did a great job of being menacing, and he really felt like he fit that part.
Yeah, no, I mean he's good in the role. I think everybody in this film is really good in their roles. Like David Harbour, I thought is really good.
Yeah, yeah. When he has to punch that old man, I'm going to punch you now.
No, I just and then everybody is just like, it doesn't seem like anybody's like in this film is at a point in their lives where they're happy.
Yeah.
Like,
Nobody is.
Everybody's unhappy with their lives at the moment that this movie is happening. And it's just like what's the kid's name? That's
The oldest boy?
Yeah,
one
yeah,
who
yeah.
tries to, I don't know that he tries to be real. Matthew, well, so it's Matt is David Harbour's character, and then Matthew, the junior, is played by Noah Jupe.
I've seen that kid before though. And Noah Jupe. Oh, Quiet Place. That's where. He was one of the kids in the Quiet Place. Quiet Place films.
Quiet Places. Go back in the back catalog.
Anyways, all right. I mean, anything to be said about this one?
The music, I think I want to talk about because I really like the score in this. It's
Okay.
sort of this noir jazz thing. It's got very simple sort of patterns to it. Like it feels like the improvised jazz you would see like at a blues club. Not that I've ever been, but what I imagine it is, it's the thick bass line with the subtle hi-hats, and I love the noir feel to the music.
Yeah.
And I think it did set a really good tone for things that, despite the convolutedness of the film, I felt the soundtrack was so simple, but really noticeable, but not in a distracting way. I found there were moments when it started firing up the score that I really took a moment to engage with the music and listen to it, and it was really good. I liked it a lot.
You should go to a jazz club.
Are there any?
Not in our neck of the woods,
so
but
I wouldn't mind. I got no, objections to doing that, but
it's just like
I think of you've ever seen the movie That Thing You Do,
yeah.
where man, I'm blanking on his name.
Tom Hanks.
No, Tom Scott something. He goes to the jazz club called the Blue Dot, and yeah, that's what I think of. I'm like, oh, I would do that. That looks like a good evening.
Yeah, I did like
Thomas
I
Everett
enjoyed
Scott. That's what I'm
Thomas.
thinking of.
Okay, cool. I did enjoy the soundtrack as well. I thought this movie really captured the setting really well. I didn't like the camera work in this film. I like it. A lot of times it had like kind of the fishbowl lens.
Yeah.
To it,
I did.
It was
a lot.
distracting.
And what was interesting, like I probably wouldn't even notice, but there are times where like Cheadle is at the end of the frame,
Yeah,
and he gets all squished up.
right.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because that was weird, and it was clearly a choice.
Yeah,
They
for sure.
made. And then on top of that, I don't even want to call them lens flares, but there's times where like the sun gets right in the camera and you can't see shit. Like, I don't know why. Again, they had several shots, and that's the one they were like, yep, that's the shot. I just felt like, why do that?
I don't know. And like I don't know enough about Soderbergh and his films to know if like this is a thing that he does across his films.
I've never seen it, and we've seen Ocean's 11 at least.
Right.
That movie's fucking clean.
I don't know. I don't know if it was a choice made because of the setting, like the 50s. I don't know if that was a thing that he did to try to maybe make it seem more authentic to the time. But I also don't know enough about 50s films where, if that was how films in the 50s were shot. I don't know.
Yeah.
But So Soderbergh as a director, he's got a ton of directing credits. 50 is a lot. And I want to say
Are those
he's
all directing credits?
That's what IMDb says.
Okay. Well, you got to check because sometimes it's like music videos and stuff. But 50 is Hitchcock levels, which video. There's a couple videos, a short, an uncredited one. I directed a segment. So I mean, he's still like in the 40s.
Well, I mean, but like he's also
which
he's
is
got
crazy. Still a lot. Like
so Aaron Brockovich, Traffic, Ocean's 11. He did all the Ocean's films. The Informant, so Matt Damon is probably a staple. His Magic Mike, Logan Lucky. I want to say he's pretty underrated as far as a director goes.
I mean, 40 films is a lot. Like, Spielberg is in the 20s, I think, like high 20s.
Yeah.
Maybe low 30s. Tarantino's in the 10s. It's really like Hitchcock's the only guy who has like that many directorial credits that are actually movies, I think. So that's pretty prolific.
Yeah. And his films are pretty, the ones I've seen are pretty good. So I think like when you think of working directors now and especially ones that have won any accolades like a best director or anything, and I actually don't know. He's got one win. I think it was for Traffic. But he's been nominated twice.
Nominated for Brockovich.
Yeah.
Nominated for writing and screenplay, but won the Oscar for Traffic, which I've never seen. Have you seen that?
It's been a long time, but
I bet
yes,
that shit's a heist movie.
No, I think it's got a lot to say about a lot of things.
Traffic.
I think,
Okay.
It's about drug trafficking. But I don't know. Soderbergh is a guy that I think nobody really thinks about as far as being a really good director, and then you look at his filmography, and it's like, oh, he did all these. Oh, I've seen that. That was pretty good. And so, like, this is another one where I didn't, before we watched it, I really didn't know it exists. Certainly didn't know he directed it. Now, after watching it, I'm like, this was this is another one that was all right. I feel like it's all right.
I feel like we've been shitting on it a good bit, but it is, like, the only weak part really is the plot. Like, everything else is really excellent. Like the acting, the music. We kind of complained a bit about the weird cinematography, but everything else is kind of cool. I like even though they look goofy at some points, I like their little leather masks they wear.
That I did. You're right.
They do look kind of silly, but at the same time, I kind of like them. I like the practicality of them, although they look like they'd fall off at any moment.
Right. They all walk into the house with them on, and I'm like, you look ridiculous, but I guess it serves a purpose.
But does it? Like, I would know that's Don Cheadle. I mean, oh shit, you're Don
I've seen you before.
Oh shit, Benicio del Toro. Oh my gosh,
aren't you?
They'd be like, damn it,
aren't you that thing in Iron Man? Didn't you do that?
Weren't you the guy with the terrible British accent in Ocean's 11?
Yeah. Anyways, Jeff, do you recommend this one?
Nah, I mean, no, because no. I mean, everything else is good, but the plot's a little too convoluted, and the twists start to get a little unrealistic, and I felt like it. At the beginning, like, you messaged me, I was like, hey, I'm watching the movie, and you said something like, oh, it's kind of slow going. So I'm like, oh, really? I'm enjoying it. And then, like, it just kind of kept flipping and flopping, and by the end of it, I had lost my enthusiasm for the movie.
Right.
Which
and
is upsetting because I thought that there's a lot. This is a movie filled with promise.
Well, so in the first, 30 minutes or so, when they go into the house, and that
It's
is
a
the
simple
actual
heist,
right? Simple heist. That I was on board in that moment, and then it started getting convoluted. The convoluted aspects started happening, and I'm like, everybody's like, oh, and
I think it could have helped with more clarity.
Yeah,
would have helped a lot, like as to what was going on, But I think everything was so masked that it kind of hurt.
yeah. I'm not gonna recommend it either.
Ray Liotta looked ripped in this to me. I don't know. He looked so menacing. But there's still good stuff. Like if you throw it on, I think there's still a lot of good stuff here.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's a bad film.
Watch it, yeah.
But also, I'm not probably ever gonna watch it again. It's just not one of those films where I'm just like, yeah.
Man, there was so much stuff. Like, I liked the camaraderie between Del Toro and Cheadle. Like, they sort of had this working professional relationship a bit. Like, they kind of had to trust each other.
Right.
They were going to evenly split the money at the end, and Del Toro was on board with the plan, although he had his out. He's like, all right, this is my out. I'm not doing that, Right. There's a lot to dig. I just really wish it would have been tighter.
Yeah. I'm in the same boat. But anyways, what are we watching next week?
So, have you seen this? We're going to watch Chappie from 2015. It runs for 2 hours. It's directed by Neil Blomkamp, who at one point was slated to make the Halo movie, I think.
Huh.
And it stars Charlton Copley. Do you know how to say his name? Copley?
Charlton Copley?
Yeah, he was the guy who was in the first
District
9.
Yeah.
He also played Murdoch in the A-Team movie, as well as Hugh Jackman, Dev Patel, Sigourney Weaver, and a guy named Ninja, who plays Ninja. I don't know if IMDb is glitching or if that's a real thing.
No, I do know that I think some of these folks are in a band. Like an actual band.
Yeah.
Yolandi
Cooper as Anderson Cooper.
Yolandi Visser is a South African rapper, I think.
I bet Ninja's a rapper too.
I bet you. Yeah, I don't know. Oh, Die Antwoord.
Because Yolandi plays Yolandi, and Ninja plays Ninja.
No, but like they're part of the band Die Antwoord.
The fuck does that mean?
I don't know, but I knew that going in. That there's some folks in here, but like what's his face? What is it? Not the
Copley?
Neil Blomkamp.
Oh,
he's
Neil
South
Blomkamp.
African. And he's got all these connections from South Africa, and I think Charlton Copley is also South African, and they're kind of bros, I think. Anyways, I'm excited. No, I've never seen it, but I'm excited to watch it.
That was I wasn't sure if you had or not, but I haven't either. So it'll be fun.
I think Hugh Jackman is the bad guy in this.
Oh, fun! It doesn't matter what Hugh is.
Right.
If he's the good guy, the bad guy, he's
got a real
like
dumb haircut though. I'm looking at the trailer.
Whether he's heel or face. The only time he's let us down was with the fountain. Oh God, the fountain.
Anyways, you can also hit the subscribe button if you're watching on YouTube, so you don't miss any future content. You can also find our podcast on your favorite social media platforms. We're on Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, right here on YouTube. If you're watching, give us a like, follow, and subscribe. You can't follow Jeff anywhere because he deleted his shit. But you can follow
just in time for the election season.
I'm sure you're glad you did that.
I really am.
You can follow me on Twitter at I Heard You Liked. And Jeff, tell them where they can find your other stuff.
Oh, yeah. You can check out my other podcast. It is called Chronologically. Currently, we're wrapping up the season on Stephen King, about to roll into our season on Your favorite director, Quentin Tarantino.
Hey.
I don't know if he is your favorite or not, but we're
He's
about
one
to
of
roll into we're about to roll into that season, and as well as a spin-off podcast called All Things Being Sequel, where we take a look at some of the longer running seasons that maybe ran a little too long. We check out all those movies. So look forward to that in your favorite place that things are.
Yeah, good.
Like
Good.
Apple,
Yeah.
Spotify.
Yeah. Google.
Not anymore.
Nope.
YouTube Music, although we're not on there because you have to manually add your shit there.
Anyways, Jeff, any last words?
Nope, none.